Thank you. The manggagit talugin ni gini instead disposan naman this concept para tatulay kay iyayan siya ni gagi pawagin na organ fumafanait. Gagi pawagin ni Public Defender Service Corporation. Puro nain ni ginagagaw niya para hafa ni sidan niya po sabi publiko. Gini gimamayla na fiscal year 2015. Thank you very much once again. We're back from our brief recess. We are now here to hear the request of the Public Defender Service Corporation's operational requirements for FY 2015. Here to present the budget is the, I think, Chairman of the Public Defenders Board of Trustees for the Public Defender Service Corporation, Chief Justice Robert Torres, and the Executive Director, Mr. Eric Miller. Yes, thank you very much, Mr. Miller. We'll go ahead and receive the testimony and opening remarks from the Chief Justice.
Hafide and good morning, Chairman and Vice Speaker and Senator Ada. Before I testify in my capacity as the Chairman of the Board of Trustees of the Public Defender Services Corporation, I want to acknowledge a couple of the other trustees who are also with me here today. Antoinette Ada, Annette, I always call her Antoinette, Annette Ada and Donna Cruz. Both recent appointees to the Public Defender Board of Trustees. I also want to thank all of the attorneys and the entire staff of the Public Defender Services Corporation for their perseverance and diligence in handling the multitude of clients that are appointed to their office, and their continued hard work is indeed acknowledged. Rather than embark with typical introductory budgetary remarks, I thought I'd instead talk a little bit about history. And I'm not going to talk about the Battle of Normandy or D-Day, which occurred on this day in 1944, or even the creation of the basketball NBA, which happened on this day in June 1946. Who would have thought then that you could sell a team for $2 billion? But I want to talk instead about what happened in early June 1961 involving an unlikely hero. He was a man with an 8th grade education who ran away from home when he was in middle school. He spent much of his early adult life as a drifter, spending time in and out of prisons for nonviolent crimes. In June 1961, Clarence Earl Gideon was charged with breaking and entering with intent to commit a misdemeanor, which was a felony under Florida law. At trial, Gideon appeared in court without an attorney. In open court, he asked the judge to appoint an attorney for him because he couldn't afford one. The judge denied his request because Florida law only permitted appointment of counsels for indigent defendants in capital cases. At trial, Gideon represented himself. He made an opening statement to the jury, cross-examined the prosecution's witnesses, presented witnesses in his own defense, declined to testify for himself, and made arguments emphasizing his innocence. Despite his best efforts, the jury found him guilty and he was sentenced to 5 years in prison. He sought relief from his conviction by filing a petition for writ of habeas corpus with the Florida Supreme Court. They denied his petition. He had challenged his conviction on the ground that the refusal to appoint him counsel violated his constitutional rights. Amazingly, he wrote a handwritten petition to the United States Supreme Court. The court agreed to hear his case, to resolve the question of whether the right to counsel guaranteed under the Sixth Amendment of the Constitution applies to defendants in state court. And as you know, the court agreed and held that the Sixth Amendment's guarantee of counsel is a fundamental right essential to a fair trial and applies through the states through the Due Process Clause of the 14th Amendment. In the opinion, Justice Hugo Black stated that reason and reflection require us to recognize that in our adversary system of criminal justice, any person held into court who is too poor to hire a lawyer cannot be assured a fair trial unless counsel is provided for him. He further wrote that the noble idea of fair trials before impartial tribunals in which every defendant stands equal before the law cannot be realized if a poor man charged with a crime has to face his accusers without a lawyer to assist him. Providing a competent lawyer to all eligible criminal defendants is a bedrock principle of our criminal justice system. The Public Defender Services Corporation work is not a discretionary expenditure. It's a constitutional mandate. If the public defender is unable to perform its constitutional and statutory duties, the administration of justice will be severely impaired, resulting in costly appeals, protracted litigation, and injustices that will actually cost the government more in the long run. Thus, it is more prudent to enable them to do their jobs from the start and grant them the resources that they need. Sidzus Masi.
Sidzus Masi, Justice Cruz, for that, Justice Torres, for that lesson. Certainly appreciated, and that's such a great reminder for today. Thank you. Thank you very much. Mr. Miller. Is your mic on there? There you go.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you, Senators, and thank you, Chief Justice. This is our 2015 budget request. There can be no justice where the kind of trial a man gets depends on the amount of money he has, and that was Hugo Black in 1964. It's kind of like the story of the guy that goes into the lawyer's office and tells his problem to the attorney, and the attorney says, well, you have a really good case. How much justice can you afford? Our mission at the Public Defender's Office, as public servants, the Public Defender Service Corporation exists to provide effective legal assistance to those unable to afford private counsel, thereby ensuring equal protection of their lawful rights in accordance with prescribed ethics laws, rules, and regulations. We have a vision. We will maintain a dynamic, efficient, client-focused environment for both our clients and employees while defending justice and equality for the people of Guam. This is our budget summary. Column A is the expenditures that we actually spent in fiscal year 2013. Column B is the authorized expenditures for last fiscal year 2014. And C is our request this year. Of course, most of our budget, like most of your agencies, is mostly personnel. The request for regular salaries and step increases, etc., is at $2,818,517. That is an 18% increase over what we were authorized for in 2014. Skipping down to prior year obligations, the Competitive Wage Act, as you just discussed recently with the judiciary, our obligation to pay under that to current staff is $163,000. That's for prior year obligation. That would not be going forward. We also have the law enforcement issue, which Mr. Call will address you later about. But as with the judiciary, the prior year's obligation to our investigators who qualify, we think, as law enforcement would be $489,000. Again, that's a prior year obligation. It would not be an expense going forward. The total personnel services that we're asking for is $4,537,164, which is a 36% increase. However, a huge amount of that increase is because of the prior year obligations to Competitive Wage Act and law enforcement. In this budget, we've also asked for 3 new positions: an attorney position, a account tech position, and an investigator position. The attorney's pay adjustments, employee salaries reclassification and increments, and night differential is included in the salary request, and the 3 positions that I just discussed: attorney, legal clerk, investigator, accounting tech. Skipping, as a kindness to the legislature, I'm going to skip through some of these slides because they're not going to be that helpful.
Thank
unless
you
have
for being
questions.
so kind. Your kindness will be rewarded.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I know you're a man of your word. And again, the Competitive Wage Act is $163,000, and the law enforcement raises would be a $489,000 issue. These are the cost of the three positions: attorney, investigator, accounting tech. 82,000 for the attorney, 52,000 for the investigator, 42,000 for the accounting tech. The increase in personnel costs for 2015 is 1,239,668. I'm going to just touch on a few things with operations. You'll note that under contractual services, it shows an increase of 100%. The reason is that the second column, which you can't see, which was labeled B, the second column is what we were authorized for in 2014. The first column is what we actually spent in 2013. What you'll see is we didn't get fully funded for all the operational expenses. We had to use lapsed funds in order to stay in business. So it's not really a 100% increase. It is more like the difference between 125,000 and 94,000. Under equipment, the 513% increase is because we are requesting laptops for half of the staff attorneys to make us more efficient. This would allow the attorneys to take their computer into court, enter the data into our client database, which we call Abacus, and they wouldn't have to transition all that information when they get back to the office. It would save a lot of time, and it would also replace their workstation. In other words, they take their laptop back from court, they dock it, and that becomes their hard drive. I'm going to skip through the contractual services because that's not going to have a lot of changes from prior years. We are replacing damaged workstations. As I mentioned, we talked about the $18,000 is for the new laptops, purchasing equipment for the new attorney and the other position, and replacing the old battery backups. I'm going to skip through the bar association dues, etc. I am going to skip through miscellaneous. The cost for our office space remains constant. We've been blessed with a static expense for utilities and rent. The increase in operational utilities and capital outlay costs for fiscal year 2015 is $164,000. The total request for 2015 is $5,108,159, which is a 36% increase. But again, over half of that increase is for prior obligations relating to the Competitive Wage Act and the law enforcement compensation issues. The question that every public defender office has is, how many lawyers do you need for how many cases? For the last 30 or 40 years, the American Bar Association has been going by this standard. That is that a public defender, and this is used by all 50 states and all the public defender offices, a public defender, full-time attorney, should be handling approximately 150 felonies per year if that's the only work he did and he only did felonies. Or if he only did juvenile cases, he or she could handle 200 juvenile cases per year if he only did, or she only did juvenile cases, or 400 misdemeanors if they only did misdemeanors. On the right, we've weighted that caseload because our lawyers, each of our attorneys, handle both felonies, juveniles, and misdemeanors. So that's just a way of showing that a guesstimate is that one felony equals approximately 2.7 misdemeanors. And by that I mean we're suggesting that on average it takes 2.7 more hours to handle a felony than it would be a single misdemeanor. Based on this formula and based on our caseload for fiscal year 2013, our office has to handle 6,567 misdemeanor equivalent cases, which divided out, it would indicate that we would need 16.4 staff attorneys, full-time staff attorneys to do that work under the American Bar Association standards. We are funded at the level of 14 full-time staff attorneys plus me. In fiscal year 2013, we opened, oh my gosh, that number's jumping up and down, 2,123 cases. That means that during that fiscal new cases that were assigned to us from the court. That number is roughly equivalent to what it's been the last year or the last 2 years. The huge increase in our caseload came a number of years ago. We're not seeing a huge caseload increase from 2012 to 2013. The number of cases pending at the day before the fiscal year, September 30th, 2012, was 1,589. In other words, cases don't open and close in a single day. So a case that was open that we were assigned to September 30th of 2012 isn't going to get worked on until fiscal year 2013. So this shows that number of cases that would have been worked on during fiscal year 2013. Now, this shows our overworked staff. By way of full disclosure, the picture in the middle is Richard Dirks, our actual staff attorney, a picture taken at his desk the day before yesterday. The other pictures we just stole off the internet to try and make our point. Again, it's a 36% increase, but over half of that is for prior year obligations. And the rest of it would be accountable to the 3 new positions we're proposing and the step increases that existing staff would be legally entitled to. This is a way of disclosing to the legislature our carryover from 2012 and from 2013 into 2014. Because we had some vacancies that had to be filled, we didn't spend all of our 2013 budget. The difference between the income and expenses for fiscal year 2013 was $61,024.13. Of that $61,000, $16,427 was allotted to take care of the liability for accrued leave adjustment. That would leave us a lapsed funds amount of $44,596. We have budgeted that money to be spent in the following 5 categories. The laptops for the attorneys. This would be the other half of the attorneys. We're asking the legislature to fund half of our attorney laptops, and we'll pay for the other ones out of our lapsed funds from 2013. Procurement of complete accounting software to replace what we currently have, which is severely outdated. To replace some old filing cabinets that are so broken at this point you can't even get into them once they're locked up. Number 4 would be audio-video recorders for the investigators. This is a critical tool for investigating clients, witnesses, etc. And finally, a mobile filing system, meaning filing cabinets that can roll back and forth so that we can accommodate the number of files that we've got. That's Gideon B. Wainwright. Our request for funding is a constitutional mandate. Help! At this point, I'd like to ask the legislature to hear from Mr. Call about the need for the new investigator, if you would allow him to testify.
Yes. Once again, please identify yourself for the record and then present your testimony.
Thank you, Mr. Miller. My name is Robbie T. Call. I'm the Chief Investigator at the Public Defender Service Corporation. Good morning to the honorable senators in this panel and giving me the time to present some information to this panel as well. With regards to the investigations section of the Public Defender Service Corporation, I basically started there about 6 years ago. I worked about 9 years as a probation officer with the Superior Court. Since I started there, we've had 5 investigators. And since I've started there, when I started there, we had 9 attorneys. So we're now up to 14 attorneys. One just resigned recently. And we're looking to try to request and hopefully get funded for a 15 and 16 attorney with the same 5 investigators that we've had. A lot of the new attorneys that we've hired in the recent years are very aggressive. They like to go to trial often. So with that in mind, it also pulls the investigation staff to not just investigate a case and obtain information, but to also assist with trial, to assist that attorney with trial, because there's so many attorneys going to trial that they sometimes can't assist each other during that process. So it would seem reasonable that if you were going to hire more attorneys, that you would hire additional support staff as well. And not just necessarily to speak on behalf of the investigation section, but in general for like the secretarial support staff. I'm sure that they would definitely need additional staff to hire the 2 more attorneys that we're seeking. I believe every attorney should have a personal secretary working for them. I don't think it's an unreasonable request or gesture, because this is not a private firm, it's a public firm, and we handle a majority of the criminal cases that come before the court system, because most of the people that commit crimes usually do not allegedly commit crimes, do not have the financial resources or ability to pay for the legal representation. With that in mind, with regards to the need for an extra investigator, I would like to also extend that we need, in general, additional support staff to go with the complements of hiring new attorneys. And if you don't mind giving me some more liberty to speak here with regards to the 1 increase, which is a big substantial amount with regards to our investigators in my section, looking for equal compensation and fair compensation with regards to comparisons to the Attorney General's Office investigators. We do just about identical work. If I was going to put it on a percentage basis, I would probably put it at about 95% with regards to practical work that we do. And yet we're held to a different standard with pay. We're not considered in the same legal compensation level as the Attorney General investigators. They're placed upon the law enforcement pay scale, law enforcement public safety pay scale, which is rightly due because of their status. But I think the other idea of thinking is, and it's supported by Title 4 Guam Code Annotated Chapter 6, subsection 6301, and all the way to 6302. It talks about how employees within the government of Guam should be fairly compensated based upon evaluation of work production. And so if an investigator from the Attorney General's Office does similar, if not identical work to an investigator with a public defender's office, then there should be a fair compensation given to both sides of the investigation positions there.
Well, that was one of the questions we had, the committee had, because there is a request for law enforcement compensation for the investigative unit, and we were under the impression that the public, because of the work that occurs, the title, that you would be on the same schedule of pay as the law enforcement personnel. And Mr. Miller, that is not the case. Is that correct?
That's correct, sir.
So there needs to be some legislative remedy to fix that gap. Is that the solution that the Public Defender Service Corporation has concluded?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
So we hear what you're saying.
Yes. Thank you, sir. And in closing, I'd just like to say that we work hard at the Public Defender's Office. We have a lot of work, and I think fair compensation is the right way to go. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Call. I'd like the legislature or the senators to hear from Mr. Michael Moreno about the need for the accounting tech, please.
Yes.
Mr. Moreno is our Chief Fiscal Officer. He's relatively new to the position.
He was poached from the judiciary.
Thank you, Mr. Miller.
Fair's fair.
We'd like to use the term recruited, sir.
Good morning, honorable senators. Since situation where in the accounting department or the finance department, there's only one employee, and that is the chief fiscal officer. And that chief fiscal officer had created a system whereby she was very knowledgeable as to where which file was and how to get it. And because she created it, it was all a manual system. Now in this age, in this era of modern technology and a lot of software out there, I am pursuing to change from the manual system to the electronic system. However, I will not be able to do it myself. In the beginning, when Public Defender Service Corporation opened, there were, as I recall in what I've read, there were at least 3 employees working in the finance department. And that, as Mr. Call stated, was probably with 9 attorneys. Now we have 14 plus 1 director. And we have taken, we are processing administrative functions for the alternate public defender, as well as the domestic violence program, and it's just been handled by one person. And so my request was to add an accounting tech in order to accomplish all the things that I want to accomplish in the next couple of years. One being making the system electronic, which would need another hand in processing the daily routines while I transition over to the electronic programs, and to accommodate all the increases in the programs that we handle. That's all. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Moreno. Any questions? Mr. Moreno?
No, not really.
Oh, okay.
I have no questions. I'll defer to a former investigator who was a practicing attorney from the Public Defender's Office.
Well, they haven't finished.
I might add, Senator, my former secretary as well.
We're gonna have them complete the presentation before we open questions. Mr. Miller, any additional
We
presentation?
have
Attorney. Well, the attorney you've just.
the attorney position is based on the American Bar
Right,
Association.
and investigator. Okay. Any additional?
Your Honorable Senators, if I may, it would behoove me to leave this budget session today and not get in a few words or chip in a few contributions here. My name is Bernadette S.N. Chargolev. Thank you, Mr. Miller. I am the Administrative Director for the Public Service Corporation. I have just completed my 36th year with the Public Defender Service Corporation, and I just want to go on the record. Tina, you remember. The Public Defender Service Corporation has always been physically responsible and frugal in handling the limited resources that we have. I plead with you to please listen to our pleas today. We are not asking for anything frivolous. We are not being extravagant with our operations. Trust me, we firmly believe in reuse, recycle, and reduce waste. We've always been committed to the indigent people that we serve, and we ask you to please recognize this and remember this when you go through the discussions on our budget. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
I might also point out that this will be Ms. Charkolov's last presentation to the legislature. She's
Oh.
retiring this year. We will miss her.
I'm certain the office will miss her quite fondly and remember her. So,
If we
Chief
can just,
Justice.
I just want to point out one more thing. It was a budget. He pointed out about the technological improvements and the costs associated with the laptops, or at least half of the laptops for the attorneys. But a number of the increases also relate to outdated workstations. You know, they're all supporting the Windows XP platform, which is no longer being supported by Microsoft, as you know, and so they are going to need to get new desktops to be able to bring, you know, their requirements up to date. And it's been JT, maybe you can just comment on some of the workstations. I mean, the age of some of the older workstations that you're looking to replace, which is the other big budget item that was in there.
I'm Julito Tingson. I'm the MIS administrator for the Public Defender's Office. And basically, I've kept to a frugal amount. I've been basically just keeping the office operational with technology. I think that we're right up at the court standard, but we do have half of our workstations at Windows XP. And as you know, April 14th of this year, Microsoft no longer supports XP. The Internet Explorer is no longer going to be serviced with XP, and it makes it impossible for our attorneys and our staff to access resources from the internet with outdated equipment. So it's important that we have to keep up, especially with the court, since they've got the latest technology.
Would your upgrades integrate with the case management program in the courts?
Yes, it would keep us in line with them. I'm actually talking with Pete Leon Guerrero about interfacing with them. Right now, the court's just finalizing their Justware system, and I've been attending the Justice Doris's CGIS meetings, and that's to get everyone in the government at the same line. So that's part of the reason why we need these upgrades, is in order, so when we're ready to jump aboard, it's not going to hold us back, that we're going to have to need money for that.
Jesus Masi, Mr. Chair, and I do apologize for being a little bit late. I was doing another function in my office, but Bernadette, I just want to say that you're working at the public defender's, you're paying to work at the public defender's office, so I just want to congratulate you on your retirement and thank you for your service to the Public Defender Service Corporation. I do want to say, Mr. Chair, for the record, that I was there for 15 years, and my love for the Public Defender's Office grows deep, and just looking at the employees in here and what they've been having to work with and the sacrifice they had to make, I wanted to see if JT could sit up here for a moment, because I wanted to have him, and Mr. Chair, if I may, to talk about the automation, and if there was any way, based on the need for the internet domain and the networking, the hosting, was there any way that we could work with the Superior Court or the judiciary to integrate or to go out for services as needed, so that there could be maybe a better equipment that they can ascertain working closely with you guys, or is that already being done?
The majority of the procurement that I do is through the federal government, GSA,
Okay.
And anytime that I need resources, I always reach out to the courts, to Peter Leon Guerrero for advisement. So I always try to follow whatever the court has, because I know that the tricky thing is that the court has a lot of grants and other stuff that we can't jump on because of with FBI regulations and grants that we're not included on that. But Pete always points me at the right direction of where I can get that and what we can do. I do know that that working with DOA, they did tell me that what they're trying to do with the government is try to source out licensing, especially for software, where government can just obtain one license and the whole agency can get that. But right now, I think they're just trying to work that out, because that would be more beneficial for all the government agencies.
I just think, Mr. Chair, with the breakdown that was requested for the additional, for the backup systems and the software renewals and the offsite data backup solutions, the hardware disk and all that, and as it adds up to almost 67,000, I was hoping that with the automation and the relationship that the public defenders has had with the judiciary ever since its breakoff in the 1970s to the court system, that there could be a collaborated effort in providing a lot of that, especially as it relates to the firewalls and all that. I'm not an IT expert, but Justice, I know you are, and I know that the judiciary has
additional comments?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Well, no comments, no questions, just comments. And Ms. Chargaloff, thank you for your many years of dedicated service to the public defenders and to the people of Guam. Those that are unable to afford an attorney, and you ensure that you do what you can to ensure that everyone is afforded that right. I just hope that upon your retirement, that it's a smooth transition from whoever takes your position, and big shoes to fill there, and I hope that once that they get the new person on board, that that you'll be able to give them that guidance that they need, that you've been doing for the past 36 years. And I also like to welcome the new board members to the public defenders. Hi. But thank you for all your work. Thank you for everything that you guys do at the Public Defenders Corporation. Look forward to working with the chairman on your budget and see how we can move forward, getting the resources that you do need to ensure that everyone is afforded that basic right of having an attorney for them. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I appreciate it.
Thank you very much, Senator. Senator Dueñas.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and thank you for the opportunity you've afforded us, as well as becoming ex-official board members. I'm certainly going to enjoy my tenure. Ms. Chargaloff, I join my colleagues here in thanking you for your service. Tina, wherever the pecking order is right now for the resolution, save me a spot. I certainly look forward to that presentation, but equal to the judiciary's presentation. Very nice job by the staff, and I have to say that being back in the gym these days, I've met some of your process servers and some of your investigators, so I understand the issue. They brought it to my attention, and so I'll work with the chairman on that issue. But thank you for your presentation. I'm definitely seeing a theme here with regard to public laws and their effect on your budget. So I think the chairman is gonna bring that to our attention and have us tackle that challenge, as that seems to represent a large portion of a lot of presentations that are being made that I've seen. So in keeping with the law, following the law, I'm sure that we'll get there, and then we'll move from there and see what we can do with the balance of your request. So thank you very much, and thank you again, Mr. Chairman, for this hearing.
Thank you very much, Senator Dueñas. Just one final question. Have you hired any new employees since the submission of your budget, and is that and are those positions included in your staffing pattern?
Your Honor, the only vacancy we have right now is the legal clerk 2 that we've already announced and closed and are currently evaluating the applications to establish a list. So that position will also be filled. As to any other new one after the submittal of this staffing pattern, there hasn't been.
And no additional new hires since 2014?
We didn't have any new positions in 2014.
Okay. All right. Any? Yeah. Okay. Thank you very much. We certainly will, once again, as you know, the Public Defender Service Corporation and the clients it represents is something that I've committed in terms of support and try to provide the resources for. I believe that every poor man deserves the same vigorous defense as every rich man, and I think that in our country that's achieved through a proper funding of Public Defender Service Corporations. And I certainly admire the work that the corporation does and support the work that the corporation does, and will certainly see how we can have a budget that reflects that admiration and Eric's kindness. So thank you very much, Mr. Masi, for your presentation this morning.
Thank you.